is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Tune in to Cliffviews Online with George Davis on Monday, March 2 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. live from Homewood Technical High School as they celebrate 90 years of empowering generations and officially open a new classroom block. We'll be on the ground to describe all the excitement that is to come at Homewood Technical. Look forward to performances by the school's musical band, lighting of 90th anniversary lamp, and more. It's all going down at Homewood Technical High School. Tune in to Cliffviews Online with George Davis on Monday, March 2 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. live from Homewood Technical High School for the 90 years of empowering generations celebration. Catch this and so much more on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, or keep your radio locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the National Education Trust.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, MP for Central Westmoreland, Dwayne Vaz, criminally charged for assaulting a man.
He's the second PNP politician to face assault charges in the last 6 months.
NWC racks up $3 billion in losses from Hurricane Melissa.
The Trump administration refuses to commit to allowing CARICOM countries to provide aid for Cuba.
The PNP is again calling for NEPA to be removed from the Ministry of Economic Growth.
In news from the rest of the world, U.S. to allow resale of Venezuelan oil to Cuba.
UK Speaker of the House of Commons says he tipped off the police over possible Mandelson flight risk.
In sports, West Indies women clinch final ODI in Grenada, defeating Sri Lanka by 6 wickets to avoid series sweep.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, outgoing chairman of CARICOM, Dr. Andrew Holness, called for smart diplomacy and collective action to assist the Cuban people.
And Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar launched an onslaught against CARICOM leaders, saying her country would no longer bind itself to the region's political ideologies. We'll get reactions from the lead editor of News Gathering at Guardian Media, Kijan Haynes, and editor-in-chief at Starbook News, Anand Prasad.
At 6:10, you'll hear a special rebroadcast of a handover ceremony of checks for approved beneficiaries under the ROOFs program in Hanover. It's being brought to you by the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
At 7, it's the comment section with Shalois Michael and Mahiri Stewart. This evening, they're asking, would you be willing to part a fight between school children? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90 FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, February 25, 2026.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. The Member of Parliament for Central Westmoreland, the PNP's Dwayne Vaz, and his driver have been slapped with assault charges following an altercation in Newmarket Oval in the parish on Sunday. His driver has been identified as 48-year-old Michael Merritt, but the MP is denying that he assaulted anyone. Mahiri Stewart reports.
Police reports are that sometime Sunday evening, an altercation developed during a football match at the Newmarket Oval in Savannah Lamar. Nationwide news sources say the 52-year-old man reportedly shouted, quote, "One judge right badness," end quote, during the match when he was allegedly set upon by the PNP lawmaker and his driver and assaulted. He sustained multiple injuries. In a statement on Wednesday, Mr. Vaz confirmed that both he and his driver, Michael Merritt, were charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm. But he denies assaulting anyone.
I categorically state that I did not assault anyone. On February 22, 2026, I attended an event at Newmarket Oval along with colleagues. During the event, I became aware of a commotion and observed two men on the ground in what appeared to be a fight. One of the men was my driver, and the other the complainant. I, along with other persons present, intervened and successfully separated the men. The complainant, who is known to me, subsequently left the location on a bicycle. My driver sought medical attention and is in possession of a medical report.
He says he went to the Savannah Lamar police station on Wednesday following reports on social media alleging that he was involved in the altercation. He adds that on arrival, he was advised by a constable that a report had been made alleging assault occasioning actual bodily harm. Mr. Vaz and his driver were granted bail in the sum of $80,000 each. Mr. Vaz ended his statement by saying he's made himself fully available to assist the police with the investigation. This is the second time the Central Westmoreland MP has found himself under public scrutiny. Last month, PNP councillor Julian Chang accused him of sexually harassing her. He denies the allegation. That matter is being investigated by the party. Vaz is also the second PNP politician to be charged with assault in the past 6 months. This follows an altercation on election day that led to Mayor of Spanish Town, Norman Scott, being charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm and malicious destruction of property. Scott was accused of striking a woman in the face and damaging her tested glasses at a polling station in the parish. He pleaded not guilty to the charges. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
The National Water Commission, NWC, has racked up $3 billion in losses due to the impact of Hurricane Melissa. NWC Vice President Herman Fagan provided the update to lawmakers during a meeting of Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC.
Inevitably, this would have come at a significant cost. From a revenue standpoint, to date, we have incurred a drop in our revenue in just about $3 billion. So what we found is that even though, as I said, it's an average, the month after will be more significant. But as some of the systems come back online, there have been improvement. The hotel sector would have been significant impacted, and they are one of our primary customers. So that in itself would have a significant impact. In addition to the works that we have to be doing, the security is an issue. The cost for generator and fuel maintenance, and there's a security component to that. That is very significant.
Like other utilities, the NWC suffered significant damage from the passage of the Category 5 system, particularly in Western Jamaica. Mr. Fagan says the capital costs associated with Hurricane Melissa continue to grow, with current total standing at $3.7 billion. This brings the NWC's total exposure from the hurricane to nearly $7 billion. The NWC Vice President is warning that long-term projects that were in the pipeline for the upcoming fiscal year might also be threatened.
We would have done a submission to our ministry, and which would have been communicated to Ministry of Finance, the kind of support that we basically need in light of the fact that we are going to have this revenue shortfall going forward, which is going to have an impact on our day-to-day operations. We are basically starting the new financial year next month. We have had a number of projects planned, in-house small projects planned, which comes at a cost. It will have an impact. We also have from a capital expenditure standpoint. So that submission would have been made as to the extent to which we will definitely need some support.
So that's assistance in the 26-27 financial year.
Yes,
you would have made that submission.
Yes,
so
that submission was made.
We will go back to
Herman Fagan, Vice President of the National Water Commission.
Meanwhile, Mr. Fagan says the NWC has completed restoration work for over 90% of its sites.
So we have 612 main sites, and to date, 96% of those sites actually has JPS power. 587, so 25 sites don't have power. JPS would have committed to us that 13 from those 25 sites will have power restored by the end of this month. From the remaining 12, 6 already have generators in place, and we have moved now to have generators installed on the 6 other locations. I think 2 in particular is a little bit problematic. Malvern 1 and Malvern number 2 based on the terrain. But my technical team is actually looking at ways and means how we basically can maneuver that, the issues there.
The NWC Vice President says most of the remaining sites should be online by March.
So we have 20 systems that JPS would have restored power here. However, there is need for remedial work to be done. St. James South is one of those areas. And remember, I'm happy to advise that a number of those facilities should be back, certainly by the end of this month, the 15th of March, that is a deadline that we have set ourselves.
That's
Herman Fagan,
I beg your pardon, Vice President of the National Water Commission.
A deputy spokesperson at the U.S. State Department, Mignon Houston, says the Trump administration is seeking to use the ongoing fuel blockade against Cuba to hold the regime accountable. She made the comment while speaking on Nationwide News on Wednesday.
The United States stands with the Cuban people. We have stood with the Cuban people. What we want to see and what we're doing with this decisive action right now is holding the Cuban regime accountable. We want to see a Cuba that respects the human rights and the voices of their citizens. We want to see a Cuba that is prosperous, that is safe, that is secure. And so what we're seeing right now is the United States stand firm. We have signed an executive order to establish, as you know, a process to impose tariffs on countries who are selling or providing oil to Cuba. This is the most recent action to really hold this regime accountable.
Cuba's severe fuel crisis is a result of the U.S. cutting off crucial oil supplies once imported from Venezuela. The Caribbean island relied heavily on oil shipments from Venezuela. But that supply stopped after the U.S. attacked the South American country in early January and arrested its president, Nicolas Maduro. The U.S. government has since decided to impose tariffs on nations sending oil to Cuba. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has called for smart diplomacy to address the Cuban crisis. But Mignon refused to commit to allowing CARICOM states to provide direct humanitarian aid to Cuba.
If CARICOM member states decide to assist the Cuban people to send aid, to send humanitarian support, would the United States support that, or would there be a blockade against CARICOM member states sending that aid?
Well, look, we want to see the Cuban people be able to thrive. We continue to send humanitarian assistance, in-kind commodities, so that it can't be stolen, can't be looted and violated by the regime to the Cuban people. So, I can't speak to hypotheticals, but what I can say is the United States continues. We just recently provided that direct support, $6 million in in-kind commodities to the Cuban people.
Mignon Houston, deputy spokesperson at the U.S. State Department.
Opposition spokesman on the environment, Omar Newell, is calling for the transfer of the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development to the Environment Ministry. According to Newell, when the authority approving large-scale developments sits within the same portfolio driving those developments, there's a conflict of interest.
NEPA currently falls under the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development, whose portfolio minister is the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew Holness. As a result, the same portfolio responsible for promoting major infrastructure expansion and economic growth also oversees Jamaica's principal environmental regulator. This is not tenable. Environmental regulation must not only be independent, it must be seen to be independent. When the authority approving large-scale developments sits within the same portfolio driving those developments, the perception of conflict becomes unavoidable.
It's not the first time the opposition PMP is raising the concern. In a statement on Wednesday, Newell says prior to the Holness administration, Jamaica structured its environmental governance more coherently. He says while he welcomes the creation of the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, effectiveness will depend on regulatory alignment.
A ministry tasked with climate resilience and environmental protection cannot be fully effective if the country's principal regulator remains outside its supervision. Policy without regulatory authority weakens coherence and accountability. This moment demands institutional clarity. At a time when Jamaica faces stronger hurricanes, coastal erosion, and increasing water insecurity, we cannot afford governance arrangements that undermine confidence in environmental decision-making. Sustainable development requires balance, transparency, and structural integrity.
Omar Newell there, opposition spokesman on the environment.
A former student athlete of Kingston College was killed in a domestic dispute with his girlfriend in the U.S. state of Missouri on Monday. The 23-year-old college sprinter Kevon Goldson was reportedly stabbed to death. His girlfriend, Danita Jackson, has since been charged with second-degree murder and armed criminal action. According to court documents, Goldson and Jackson were involved in a romantic relationship, but the documents show that there were multiple incidents of domestic violence between the two. Jackson told investigators that she believed Goldson was having an affair with one of her roommates. Court documents indicate that Jackson told police she found Goldson in the bed of her roommate after returning home from work early. It's reported that Jackson unlocked the roommate's door with a hair clip. A confrontation ensued, during which Goldson allegedly began choking Jackson. It's reported that Jackson grabbed a knife from under the bed and stabbed Goldson in the back and chest. He was taken to hospital where he died during surgery. Jackson was arrested and taken to Cole County Jail.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Ran out of contact lenses? Buy a 6-month supply of contact lenses this month at IQ Optical and save 50% off the next 6-month supply. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 26 out west in Montego Bay.
Nationwide 90 FM. 90 FM.
From the world to Jamaica, CFL delivers. CFL Jamaica is your trusted logistics provider, connecting cargo seamlessly across the Caribbean, North, Central, and South America, Europe, and Asia. CFL offers competitive rates, reliable transit times, and consistent on-time performance. Imports or exports, full containers or less, your cargo is in expert hands.
Nationwide 90 FM. 90 FM.
Continuing the news. Fines under the Litter Act are set to be increased during the new legislative year. Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie made the announcement on Monday.
We're looking to increase the fines as it relates to the Litter Act. If the Jamaican people do have a change of mind, then it is not going to work. And I must tell you that is not all of Jamaica is dirty. There are many parts of Jamaica right across the country, in inner city communities, upscale communities, that you go there, you are very, very happy to see the condition. But there are other areas where the garbage is being just littered. People have no conscience. There's a thing named travel waste. You're driving behind a bus, a car, the amount of garbage being thrown out on the road. It is a real issue. And when the legislation comes, which is going to make it much more punitive, our people don't complain.
Desmond McKenzie, Local Government Minister.
The government is assessing the feasibility of a new asphalt solution aimed at tackling the country's persistent pothole problem. The Quality Pavement Repair QPR pothole filler was launched by Regency Petroleum Limited on Wednesday. Works Minister Robert Morgan says he has already instructed his team to see how fast the product can be rolled out.
Our role is always to ensure that solutions used on the public infrastructure meet the necessary standards. And I'm pleased to announce that I have asked the National Works Agency to engage with Regency Petroleum to do a total assessment of this product to see how quickly it can be infused into the government road rehabilitation ecosystem. And with the proper evaluation, quality control, and responsible use, I'm very confident that this product can be an asset to our national road rehabilitation program.
The QPR pothole filler is a ready-to-use material designed to provide immediate, permanent solutions to the nation's road maintenance challenges. The product is designed to withstand any weather condition, even in water-filled holes. Minister Morgan says the government spent over $7 billion on road maintenance in 2025. He says the features of the solution will be significant in improving the resilience of the country's road network.
A ready-to-use solution with no heating required and no special equipment needed is something that will be of great benefit to the country. A big challenge that we've had over the last several years is the time-bound restrictions of hot mix, where I remember in Burial, the people demanded that we pave the roads, but it was raining and we lost several tons of asphalt. If this product can help parish teams, contractors, maintenance crews to repair defects faster in all weather conditions with better durability, then it deserves serious attention.
That's Works Minister Robert Morgan.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The U.S. Treasury Department says it will authorize companies seeking licenses to resell Venezuelan oil to Cuba. It's a move that could help ease the Caribbean islands' acute fuel shortage. Since Washington took control of Venezuela's oil exports in early January, the South American country's supply to Cuba ceased, worsening its energy crisis. Venezuela had been the main supplier of crude and fuel to Cuba for more than 25 years. Wednesday's license policy comes as large trading houses handle the lion's share of Venezuela's oil exports. The authorization comes as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived in the Caribbean to speak with leaders who warned that Cuba's growing humanitarian crisis could destabilize the region.
The Speaker of the UK's House of Commons says he tipped off police that Peter Mandelson was a possible flight risk. Mandelson is the former ambassador to the US who is facing accusations of leaking information to late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. He was arrested on Monday on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Mandelson was released on bail early Tuesday morning after more than 9 hours of questioning. Speaker Lindsay Hoyle told lawmakers that he passed relevant information to police. But lawyers for Mandelson said the arrest was the result of a baseless suggestion that he planned to flee the country. They add that the arrest was carried out despite an agreement that he would speak to London's Metropolitan Police voluntarily.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, MP for Central Westmoreland, Dwayne Vaz, criminally charged for assaulting a man.
He's the second PNP politician to face assault charges in the last 6 months.
The NWC has racked up $3 billion in losses from Hurricane Melissa.
Trump administration refuses to commit to allowing CARICOM countries to provide aid for Cuba.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
Listeners, you can find the news on our website at rivernews.ai and on the River News app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Unlock winnings, unlock value, unlock postpaid with Digicel. Sign up for your postpaid plan now, win $1 million. When you sign up and unlock postpaid with Digicel, you can win up to $1 million and more. Just sign up or switch to postpaid, upgrade or activate an add-on in the My Digicel app. Pay your bill in full on time and you can win an iPhone 17 Pro Max every week. A bill write-off up to $10 grand, a grand prize of $1 million. Unlock winnings with Digicel. Better connected.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply. Promotion valid from February 6 to April 4.
Hey my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status if you consider. The least if you test once a year. Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late so you're out of time. A progressive future, mandatory. Real long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Do a HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Real long life, our story. Real long life was a youth coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? GeoLand Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. GeoLand Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Good afternoon with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We bowl things off with some cricket as West Indies women avoided a series sweep when they defeated Sri Lanka by 6 wickets in their third and final one-day international in Grenada on Wednesday. Chasing 218 to win, the Windies reached the target in 46 overs. Captain Hayley Matthews scored an even century, while Stefani Taylor made 38 and Chanel Henry 32. Earlier, Sri Lanka made 217 for 7 off their 50 overs. Arshitha Samawikrama made 70, which included 7 fours. She got support from Kavisha Dilhari, 45 not out. Matthews and Kishma Ramarak took 2 wickets each. Now, West Indies and South Africa will both put their flawless records on the line when they meet in the Super 8 round of the ICC Cricket World Cup in Ahmedabad on Thursday. Both sides have enjoyed perfect campaigns so far, registering 5 wins from 5 starts to set up one of the most anticipated clash of the tournament. The Caribbean side's charge has been powered by explosive batting led by Simran Hetmyer. Hetmyer currently tops of the tournament standings for most sixes with 17, underlining his destructive form. His teammate Shafrin Rutherford has also been clearing the ropes with ease and is in a 3-way tie for third with 11 sixes. Meanwhile, South Africa boasts their own heavy hitters. Ryan Rickleton has struck 9 sixes so far, while the experienced David Miller and the dynamic Dewald Brevis have each blasted 8, providing the Proteas with formidable firepower. With both teams stacked with aggressive batters, West Indies assistant coach Floyd Reefer is expecting fireworks at the Narendra Modi Stadium.
Both teams hit sixes, but yeah, the pitch, once the wicket is good, then you expect a good batting performance on both of the teams. I think the main thing for us is, trying to score as many balls as possible. Yes, we know we hit sixes, we hit fours, but for us it's to score as many deliveries as possible.
Reefer says both sides are familiar with each other's style of play.
We just played a series against them in South Africa. Played 3 games there, and guys like Rutherford, Chase, and Skipper Shea played in the SCA T20 as well. So when you play against teams in international cricket, guys know each other. They play against each other even in franchise cricket. So it's just a matter of on the day, who plans the best on the day, who executes the best on the day.
Reefer emphasized that his side has nothing to prove despite their unbeaten run.
There's no point to prove for us. We came here like any other team to win the competition. A lot of people have us flying under the radar, but we plan every game to go in there with a positive mentality to win cricket games.
Floyd Reefer. Now to track and field as Edwin Allen and St. Jago are on their way to successfully defend their respective crowns when the 2-day Central Athletics Championships conclude on Friday at GC Foster College. Competing in 45 finals on the girls' side, Edwin Allen stamped their authority on the meet, amassing a commanding 396 points after 44 finals. Homewood Technical sits strong in second with 358.5 points, while St. Jago sits in third with 235.5 points. On the boys' side, St. Jago High School delivered a solid all-round performance to top the standings with 248 points of the 39 of 40 finals. Edwin Allen follows in second position with 203 points and Clarendon College third with 126 points. And finally, in football, action in the Rare Never Jamaica Premier League continued on Wednesday with 2 rescheduled games. At sports time, Treasure Beach and defending champions Cavalier are locked at 1-1 in the St. Elizabeth Technical High School with a minute left in regulation time. Over Draxall in St. Anne, home team Mount Pleasant are leading Harbourview 4-0. That match is currently in added time. With 3 points, Mount Pleasant will move to second in the standings, 3 points behind leaders Montego Bay United. I'm Alex Raby, and that's your sports.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:28.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
You may have been hearing the teasers. Now it's official. Beginning Monday, February 9, 2026, Nationwide News Network launches something special. The Nationwide Family Club, exclusively on Patreon.
With the Family Club, members get early access to our documentaries before anyone else. Some of your favorite segments, including Cliff Says, What's on My Mind, Cover Story, and others, will now be a click away inside the Family Club. There are 3 tiers of membership. First, Bronze, the Family Insider, behind-the-scenes access, Monday motivational videos, members-only chats, and on-air birthdays and anniversary shoutouts.
Second, Silver, Nationwide VIP, breaking news alerts, exclusive documentaries, quizzes, personal milestones celebrated on air, and weekly family roll call mentions. Oh, and for our biggest supporters,
our gold category, elite listener, full archive access, early releases, private studio tours, live show experiences, personalized birthday videos, and exclusive live streams. From historic election coverage to lifetime, impact, Jamaican milestones, and rare archive content. This is Nationwide like you've never seen it before. The Nationwide Family Club, coming to you February 9, 2026 on Patreon.
Join the family, support Nationwide 90 FM, the station that informs, entertains, and educates. Visit patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. That's patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. Nationwide Family Club, where you are family, because we see you as family.
Unlock winnings, unlock value, unlock postpaid with Digicel.
When you sign up, stay active, or upgrade, you could win up to $1 million and more.
Unlock winnings with Digicel.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply. Promotion valid from February 6 to April 4.
He never shies away from taboo topics. Voyagings After Dark.
The most riveting discussions.
Voyagings After Dark.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings this and every Wednesday from 8 to 11 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
You can't miss.
What's buzzing?
Celebrity outfits.
Is that a hit or a miss?
Bust the odds.
Jamaica's Got Talent.
Wait, a war man.
Hot takes.
Talk up the takes.
Actual factual. Life is short. Voyagings After Dark.
Come get your mind blown.
And your curiosity explored.
Tune in to Cliffviews Online with George Davis on Monday, March 2 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. live from Homewood Technical High School as they celebrate 90 years of empowering generations and officially open a new classroom block. will be on the ground to describe all the excitement that is to come at Homewood Technical. Look forward to performances by the school's musical band, lighting of 90th anniversary lamp, and more. It's all going down at Homewood Technical High School. Tune in to CliffViews Online with George Davis on Monday, March 2 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. live from Homewood Technical High School for the 90 Years of Empowering Generations celebration. Catch this and so much more on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, or keep your radio locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the National Education Trust.
Good afternoon, listeners, viewers. It's good to hear from you and see you this afternoon. Well, I hope it's good to hear and see from me, I should suggest. Welcome to the cover story. I'm Siobhan Campbell, and we are going to be talking about some regional issues this afternoon as the outgoing chairman of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Jamaica, that's Dr. Andrew Holness, is calling for smart diplomacy and collective action to assist the Cuban people. Addressing the 50th regular meeting of Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM in St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Holness declared that the crisis rocking the Spanish-speaking country cannot be ignored. Dr. Holness says CARICOM cannot turn a blind eye.
We must address the situation in Cuba with clarity and courage. Cuba is our Caribbean neighbor. Its doctors and teachers have served across our region. Its people are part of our shared history. But today, the Cuban people face severe economic hardship, energy shortages, and growing humanitarian strain. Jamaica is sensitive to the struggles of the Cuban people. Humanitarian suffering serves no one.
That's Prime Minister Andrew Holness. An executive order by U.S. President Donald Trump has targeted any nation providing oil to Cuba with the threat of punitive measures. Several former CARICOM heads of government condemned the action as economic warfare, calling for action to be rescinded. Rather than join in an outright condemnation, however, Dr. Holness called for cooler heads to prevail.
This movement, therefore, calls not for rhetoric, but for responsible statecraft, even as we encourage support for humanitarian relief. Jamaica supports constructive dialogue between Cuba and the United States aimed at de-escalation, reform, and stability. We believe there is space, perhaps more space now than in years past, for pragmatic engagement that protects the Cuban people from any further deterioration in their circumstances and instead promotes national and regional prosperity.
Dr. Andrew Holness, he's the outgoing chairman of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Jamaica. Well, in the meantime, while warning that instability in Cuba has the potential to impact CARICOM, Dr. Holness appeared to criticize the country's governance arrangements. He says CARICOM can play a role in de-escalating the crisis. And Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessor, says while TNT remained vested in the regional bloc, her country would no longer bind itself to the region's political ideologies, foreign policy positions, or security frameworks.
How could the CARICOM be a zone of peace when a narco dictator who imprisoned and killed thousands of civilians and opposition members? You will see recently over 300 persons from the opposition in Venezuela have been released. They were in prison because of politics. So how can it be when that regime was threatening violence to 2 CARICOM member states, there was no voice from the CARICOM? We were talking about a zone of peace. And in my respectful view, my country is not a zone of peace, and I'll tell you why. Because of the unreliability of the CARICOM in the above situation, TNT Guyana, we cannot bind ourselves to the same political ideologies, the same foreign issues, and the same security policies of the entire CARICOM. That's why I welcome Prime Minister Holness' words, that we have each our own pathway to walk, depending on what is happening in our country. And so, my friends, I say, going forward, we will work with the CARICOM. We were invested in the CARICOM. We've been there from day one, and we want to be there after the end and the beginning, and in the end, we want to be there with the CARICOM. It's very vital.
Kamla Persad-Bissessessor. She's the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, for reactions to the addresses, we're being joined by leader of news gathering of Guardian Media in Trinidad and Tobago, that's Kijan Haynes, and editor-in-chief at Starbrook News, Anand Persad, over in Guyana. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon. Thanks for having us.
Good afternoon to you both. Let's start with you, Kijan Haynes. The address by the two prime ministers, that's Dr. Andrew Holness and Kamla Persad-Bissessessor. Your assessment, I mean, some people would say that she was a little less diplomatic than Dr. Holness, but their points weren't too far off in terms of their relatability.
Absolutely, and Andrew Holness would have walked so that Kamla Persad-Bissessor could run. And you would have seen that in her own speech, where several times she referenced what Andrew Holness would have said in terms of forging your own path, and you can have disagreements, but still have a larger CARICOM community. She basically took that and said, you know what, we're going down this road, my road, along those lines. And you saw that. And speaking to her today, she was speaking to our reporters who are on the scene, and she said, you know what, sometimes you just have to do things a little differently. It's too much of the same talk shop that happens in these CARICOM meetings. And she said, I had to shake things up a little bit.
And Anand Persad, your assessment?
Yeah, but I think definitely what is happening here is that this long-held dream of, a common foreign policy and commonality in positions as we relate to different powers and certainly Trump administration. That's all gone out of the window now, and I think everybody's making it clear. This is the clearest I've ever heard from any of the regional meetings from two leaders, Prime Minister Holness and Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor. That is, we're going our own way. Sorry, we've had a grand time here, but we need to sort of to work within our own parameters and to assess the risk within our own neighborhood. And that's where we're going to go. I think one of the problems here, though, with the Trinidadian Prime Minister's presentation, it is something that didn't start from today. It's this unremitting association with Trump administration policies. I think Mr. Holness was more guarded and reserved in how he presented his positions. But I think the problem for CARICOM from the outset was the very direct support by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessor of, the obliteration of suspected drug boats in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific. That is something that I think has created a real crisis for CARICOM, how to move ahead together and how we can at least sort of, if we're not working on the exact same foreign policy, we could at least have a common view on international human rights standards and so on. She sort of framed it in a way that sort of lumped Guyana and Trinidad together. That is, we were both under from Maduro at some stage and nobody came to our rescue. And we've had this long-standing problem in CARICOM of a sort of a twin track. Yes. Some members are also associates of ALBA, and some, take a very sort of low-key position on threats to Guyana's sovereignty. So she is right in that way, but I think the real problem is she has sort of she's now an outlier in terms of how she's approached the Trump administration, and that I think has created a problem for the rest of the region, particularly as it relates to Cuba relations and humanitarian assistance and things of that sort.
And looking at her assessment from your position there in Guyana, she suggested that during that very major upheaval between the region, remind me of the region, the Essequibo region, that upheaval not too long ago, that she essentially suggested that Guyana had no support from CARICOM during that trying time. Would you label that a fair assessment?
I would say it is indeed a fair assessment. We came in December 2023. We came very close to being at the end of a gun from Venezuela in terms of the threat of invasion. And what happened there was the St. Vincent Prime Minister tried to give Mr. Maduro a way out, a sort of an off-ramp from this threat to invade. And so essentially we were sort of coerced to go to Argyle in St. Vincent to give Mr. Maduro a stage on which he could sort of climb down from his own folly. Now, we should not have had to have done that because it should have been clear to everybody in CARICOM, and certainly the St. Vincent Prime Minister, that we should not be party to anything that would in any way seek to reward Mr. Maduro for aggression. And so in that respect, she is correct, because we were sort of to go to Argyle. It achieved nothing for us, and it allowed Maduro, in the period that preceded his seizure by the Americans, to sort of continue to make it seem as if he did have some kind of case that should be considered, and he doesn't have any at all.
And Kijan, our own Prime Minister, that's Dr. Andrew Holness, suggested that this is not a political union. CARICOM is, as much as we are aiming for integration, not a political union. He stressed that, and he suggested this should not be seen as weakness. Do you see it that way, or do you see that there is clearly a fracturing in the regional bloc?
I think the problem with CARICOM is CARICOM hasn't quite figured out what it is yet. It's a band of brothers, family, close together, who are good in the sense that we have the commonality that binds us, sand, sea, sun, and I guess language to some extent. But we don't have that binding agreement, let's say the way the European Union does. We're not actually states of one country like the United States. So there's nothing holding us together. If you look at even the South American states, ALBA, like all of these people can come and go as they please, and they do, depending on who's in charge. At any given stage, we've just kind of had leaders who fall into my role as a leader in the Caribbean is I have to go to these CARICOM meetings. I have to be a participant. That's sort of the role that I signed up for. What Kamla Prasad's predecessor is saying is, I guess I'll do it if I have to, but here's what, I'm not just going to go along the way that it's always been. Jamaica has always been, we always talk about it, 10 from 1 leaves naught. It was Jamaica that left the Federation first, and everything just, 1 from 10, leaves naught, and Jamaica left the Federation first. So there's always been fractures. They've always said that it's never been anything that holds us together more than we believe that there should be a CARICOM. But when you think about it, isn't that all laws in general?
So please stay with me, gentlemen. When we come back, I want to talk about this pursuit of greater integration and the more immediate matters such as Cuba and Venezuela. Please stay with us after this break.
Order Pizza Hut online at pizzahutjamaica.com or through WhatsApp at 876-837-4488. Pizza Hut, now that's delivery. The time by Pizza Hut is...
It's 5:45.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Attention restaurants, caterers, and hotels. This Saturday, February 28, DFL Importers Limited hosts a massive yard sale at 71 Malines Road, Kingston from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Enjoy unbeatable bargains on porcelain plates, wine glasses, towels, disposables, and a wide range of hospitality essentials. Save big and elevate your service with quality products at incredible prices. It's one day only. Arrive early and don't miss this chance to grab amazing deals.
Good afternoon, listeners, viewers. Welcome back. We're talking the CARICOM region, the just concluded regular meeting, the 50th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Prime Minister's Dr. Andrew Holness and the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Prasad, predecessor, mincing words, so to speak, about the future of the regional bloc. We have with us discussing this further the editor-in-chief at Starboard News, Anand Prasad, and lead editor of news gathering at the Guardian Media, Kijan Haynes. And Kijan, what I want to speak with you about the future of CARICOM based on the statements from Prasad Bisesa and Dr. Andrew Holness. Where do we go from here in terms of assessing the various attempts to bring the countries of CARICOM together?
Everyone seems to think that there is no division. So CARICOM will remain. That is what it comes down to at the end of it. If you listen to all these speeches, I think it was Dr. Goodwin Friday of St. Vincent in his inaugural address. He said, at the end of the day, I will stay because there's nothing better. There's no alternative that will be beneficial to the people of St. Vincent and the people of the Caribbean in general. And I think a lot of people have that approach. One thing a lot of the commentators here are wondering is, are we hitching ourselves to an unstable wagon that is the current United States? Is this going to be a situation where we could get left in the dust? Are we being brought along for whatever ride they're on? That is the question. But at the end of the day, I think, just look at it this way. If you've ever had a friend who was dating somebody that you did not particularly like, and by the time they broke up, what did you do? Did you either bring them back into your circle or did you kick them out? And I think this is just probably the fracture. Right now, we have that friend who's run off with somebody else, and we just go, you know what, you go over there, once you burn to learn, you will come back. And I get the feeling CARICOM will remain. Everybody will get back together. And at the end of the day, the governments change. And every government that comes has to know, well, you're part of CARICOM, so you have responsibilities.
And Prasad, I mean, the United States will always be a major player in the region. It's just something that the region has to adapt to. There's no avoiding it. But one of the purposes of CARICOM, as it was explained back in its envisioning, was to create a stronger union where nations felt they were too weak to stand up to the global powers alone. In the statements by the Prime Minister and Prasad Bisesa, how do we now go forward in this belief then that we'll simply just go at it alone in solving our own unique issues?
Yeah, so I don't think that makes any sense at all. And I think the whole purpose behind CARICOM, not just consider the fact that we're not going to be a state that is going to yield, a region is going to yield supranational powers to anybody. But the bottom line is, you were 15 votes at any gathering, and you carried significant heft and weight. And one of the problems we've had over the years is that nobody's ever been able to sort of get everybody to sort of take a common position, whether it was the environment, whether it was relations with, a particular state or a particular action in the UN. What we really lost over that period was the fact that we brought 15 votes to the table, and that gave us significant power in terms of trying to sort of to shape discussions. We really have to work on that because, if you went singly and solely, or you simply abandoned this whole concept of working together as a regional organization, you sort of deal yourself a double blow. So if Trinidad wants to do as it is doing, and it's going off with this very extreme position on Trumpism and supporting Trump, it is going to end up, in a very difficult situation. The midterm elections in the U.S. are likely to lead to a very sobering outcome for the current administration. And so you'll find yourself, losing the kind of influence you might have and the kind of attention. So while Mr. Rubio is in Trinidad and held bilaterals today with Prime Minister and President Ali, you might find yourself in 6 months not even, getting a calling card. So I think we have to stick together, and I think we will always be there for one another, but it's really to try to get us, and we haven't been able to do this, for us to be able to sort of arrive at a common position in terms of our interests. And our interests coincide on a whole range of things: trade, supply chains, the environment, global warming, and certainly now in terms of an energy policy, because Guyana, Trinidad, and Suriname can be the engine house for the rest of the Caribbean. We don't have to rely on Venezuelan oil anymore, which is what creates the ALBA diffusion, and so we can provide that sort of commonality of energy. So there are things that we can work together on, and we're not going to abandon each other, next year or the year after. We're here in the same region, and I think that sort of, makes us have to work together.
Can we?
can we do that without the U.S.? That's the problem with energy. The U.S. has such a hold on the worldwide energy using the dollar as the currency. That's the issue. They always have that over us, and I think that's one of the issues that we are having right now, where you're right. Everything we could go it alone, but once the U.S. decides they want to issue sanctions on any of us, that's it. I mean, Trump said it the other day with the tariffs. They could completely kill any country they wanted to, and it's a weird line that we are straddling right now. I think we're seeing that the U.S. is powerful, and they're wielding a lot more power than they used to be before. And what I'm getting from at least the Trinidadian government is they want to be on, at least for now,
winning side. So
yes, beside not getting hit.
Well, Kitchen, let's put it in that manner. The Cuban, I want to say crisis, I think we can't avoid that word now. The Cuban crisis as it stands now, the U.S. essentially threatening any country that goes to Cuba's aid at this point, and the Prime Minister here in Jamaica suggesting that it is in our best interest to render some assistance to the Cuban people. Under these circumstances, how do you move forward? The Prime Minister calls for smart and collective diplomacy on the topic. How do we move forward?
Well, let's go to what my Prime Minister would have said at the briefing, where she would have said that all of a sudden, why are we, as the leaders, the CARICOM heads, why are we able to be chosen by the people, but the people of Cuba can't choose their leader? Why are we supporting dictators? It's hypocritical. We do business with China. I don't think the Chinese people get to choose their leader. We do business with the United Arab Emirates. This is essentially a kingdom. So it's a very hypocritical stance. And what is new in terms of, we can disagree on certain things, like the CSME hasn't gotten off the ground for a reason. The free movement within the Caribbean hasn't gotten off the ground. But we've always kind of agreed, and we're talking about a vote in the UN, that the blockade on Cuba has to end because it's creating a humanitarian crisis. And at the very least, CARICOM used to agree that whether or not you agree with communism, it's a humanitarian crisis. Release the blockade, let the people decide how they want to be governed, but you can't starve them of resources because it's the man on the ground that suffers. And what we're having here now is unprecedented in that you have a Prime Minister basically agreeing with the stifling of food and resources and oil for the purpose of regime change.
And our Prime Minister here in Jamaica was not shy in suggesting that there are concerns about the lack of democracy and the ability for the Cuban people to essentially pursue the freedoms that many of us enjoy across the region, even though he twinned that with the concerns that we should not try to exacerbate the crisis there in terms of food and other critical items. How do you now navigate those two realities? You're suggesting that, yes, there are some things in the region that we have issues with, and still we must assist the people, while you have the United States standing over you saying, no, the two things are linked.
Yeah, well, again, this is an example of how there's no consistency in the American position, because today, they did announce that the Treasury Department will allow Venezuelan oil to be sold for use in Cuba. So they've now pulled back from this position of threatening tariffs and trying to sort of prevent people from getting oil to Cuba. So they now will allow some oil to be sold. So again, it's a perfect example of how the Trump administration says one thing today, and next week it does a totally different thing. So, but I think before this announcement today, it really would have required the leaders of CARICOM to show whether or not they did have some spine and they would stand up. I cannot see how, even if you wanted to wed yourself to Trump administration policies, given the history of our region and the fact that we've historically embraced the Cuban Revolution, no matter its tragedies and its failures, and the fact that we don't have democracy. We've always embraced the Cuban Revolution. Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, and Guyana made historic moves. So to backtrack on that after all this time, particularly at this very moment when they are in a dire situation, is disgraceful. And I think Prime Minister Holness did the right thing. We actually led our page 5 today with him, saying that we need to have clarity on the need to provide humanitarian aid to Cuba, because we've been trying to get that same answer from our president. Why it is we haven't, considering all of the revenues we have now from oil, why it is we haven't sent substantial humanitarian assistance to Cuba. So at the bottom of it all, no matter what is going on, all of the attempts by the U.S. and the fact that we are concerned about the lack of democracy in Cuba and so on, there is no excuse for not coming to the aid of our brothers and sisters in Havana. And that is something that is disgraceful that we haven't done it as yet. And I hope that at the end of this summit, there's going to be something in the communique that reflects the absolute need to show gratitude for everything that Cuba has done for the region. We've had doctors, we've had thousands of people with eye surgeries, we've had scholarships, we've had medical partnerships. What we did was just simply cancel very quietly our medical partnership with Cuba, because that's what the Trump administration has been demanding. But I think it's disgraceful, and it shows a lack of spine, and it shows this calculus that is completely bereft of any kind of humanitarian instincts.
But Anand, I think a lot of people would suggest then, what about the political realities? I mean, CARICOM does not elect these prime ministers. They're elected by their electorates in their individual countries. And the question then would become, what would be the opinion of that electorate when you're facing the United States, which still attracts significant economic weight in each of these individual countries, as well as immigration and other issues that could be threatened if you attempt to stand up to the United States?
Yeah, well, I think you just have to sort of lay a marker in the sand. I think you remember Prime Minister Motley said she's prepared to give up her U.S. visa. Now, what is...
Meanwhile, my Prime Minister says
that is showing
back out the U.S.
That is showing this finding that we need to say. You should be prepared to give up your visa rather than simply bail out and abandon people who have helped you so immensely over the period. In our case in particular, we've had a significant rise in the number of Cubans who've come to this country because they needed to get their U.S. visas here. They're coming for work and so on. The bottom line is we owe a severe debt of gratitude to Cuba. And to abandon it at its time of greatest need is really callous. I cannot understand how any leader can face his own people and to show that sort of ingratitude to a friend in the region.
A final word to you, Kijan, on the same matter. I mean, some people would say that the political realities in Barbados, where Mia Mottley essentially has free reign, versus some of the other nations of CARICOM might not necessarily allow us to have that kind of position. What say you?
I don't know that that's true. I mean, Kamala Persad-Bissessar has a large mandate from the people. I think one of the problems that we're having now is a lot of people think they voted for the Kamala Persad-Bissessar first administration, who was not this person. She was the person who praised Fidel Castro in his life and in his death. She was the person who was, even though she was not as pro-CARICOM, because she made that infamous "we're not an ATM" statement, she still went to the meetings. She still had the conversations. What we're looking at now is a lot of people are saying, well, did I vote for this? Is this what I voted for? This sort of vassal state toward the U.S. Her supporters will always be her supporters. Her base will always be her base. They will do whatever she says and applaud it. But there are the people who are, well, obviously in the opposition and on the fence, who are still wondering, what's the end game here? What are we benefiting from this? And do we come out of this alive when it's all over?
Well, on this issue, I suggest with as many other things, time will tell, gentlemen. That is lead editor of News Gathering at The Guardian Media in Trinidad and Tobago, Kijan Haynes, as well as editor-in-chief at Starbrook News in Guyana, Anand Prasad. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon. The headlines are next, listeners, and then we come back with more.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
2 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Member of Parliament for Central Westmoreland, the PNP's Dwayne Vaz and his driver have been slapped with assault charges following an altercation in Newmarket Oval in the parish on Sunday. His driver has been identified as 48-year-old Michael Merritt, but the MP is denying that he assaulted anyone.
I categorically state that I did not assault anyone. On February 22, 2026, I attended an event at Newmarket Oval along with colleagues. During the event, I became aware of a commotion and observed 2 men on the ground in what appeared to be a fight. One of the men was my driver, and the other the complainant. I, along with other persons present, intervened and successfully separated the men. The complainant, who is known to me, subsequently left the location on a bicycle. My driver sought medical attention and is in possession of a medical report.
Vaz says he went to the Savannah Lamar police station on Wednesday following reports on social media alleging that he was involved in the altercation. He adds that on arrival, he was advised by a constable that a report had been made alleging assault occasioning actual bodily harm. Vaz and his driver were granted bail in the sum of $80,000 each. The National Water Commission, NWC, has racked up $3 billion in losses due to the impact of Hurricane Melissa. NWC Vice President Herman Fagan provided the update on Wednesday.
Inevitably, this would have come at a significant cost. From a revenue standpoint, to date, we have incurred a drop in our revenue in just about $3 billion. So what we found is that even though, as I said, it's an average, the month after will be more significant. But as some of the systems come back online, there have been improvement. The hotel sector would have been significantly impacted, and they are one of our primary customers. So that in itself would have a significant impact. In addition to the works that we have to be doing, the security is an issue. The cost for generator and fuel maintenance, and there's a security component to that. That is very significant.
Mr. Fagan says the capital costs associated with Hurricane Melissa continue to grow, with current total standing at $3.7 billion. This brings the NWC's total exposure from the hurricane to nearly $7 billion. The NWC Vice President is warning that long-term projects that were in the pipeline for the upcoming fiscal year might also be threatened.
Would have done a submission to our ministry, and which would have been communicated to Ministry of Finance, the kind of support that we basically need in light of the fact that we are going to have this revenue shortfall going forward, which is going to have an impact on our day-to-day operations. We are basically starting the new financial year next month. We have had a number of projects planned, in-house small projects planned, which comes at a cost. It will have an impact. We also have from a capital expenditure standpoint. So that submission would have been made as to the extent to which we will definitely need some support.
So that's assistance in the 26-27 financial year.
Yes.
You would have made that submission.
Yes,
so
that submission was made.
Herman Fagan, Vice President of the NWC. The government is assessing the feasibility of a new asphalt solution aimed at tackling the country's persistent pothole problem. The Quality Pavement Repair QPR pothole filler was launched by Regency Petroleum Limited on Wednesday. Works Minister Robert Morgan says he has already instructed his team to see how fast the product can be rolled out.
Our role is always to ensure that solutions used on the public infrastructure meet the necessary standards. And I'm pleased to announce that I have asked the National Works Agency to engage with Regency Petroleum to do a total assessment of this product to see how quickly it can be infused into the government road rehabilitation ecosystem. And with the proper evaluation, quality control, and responsible use, I'm very confident that this product can be an asset to our national road rehabilitation program.
The QPR pothole filler is a ready-to-use material designed to provide immediate, permanent solutions to the nation's road maintenance challenges. The product is designed to withstand any weather condition, even in water-filled holes. Minister Morgan says the features of the solution will be significant in improving the resilience of the country's road network.
A ready-to-use solution with no heating required and no special equipment needed is something that will be of great benefit to the country. A big challenge that we've had over the last several years is the time-bound restrictions of hot mix, where I remember in Burial, the people demanded that we pave the roads, but it was raining and we lost several tons of asphalt. If this product can help parish teams, contractors, maintenance crews to repair defects faster in all weather conditions with better durability, then it deserves serious attention.
That's Robert Morgan, the Works Minister. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Sports is next.
You may have been hearing the teasers. Now it's official. Beginning Monday, February 9, 2026, Nationwide News Network launches something special. The Nationwide Family Club, exclusively on Patreon.
With the Family Club, members get early access to our documentaries before anyone else. Some of your favorite segments, including Cliff Says, What's on My Mind, Cover Story, and others will now be a click away inside the Family Club. There are 3 tiers of membership. First, Bronze, the Family Insider, behind-the-scenes access, Monday motivational videos, members-only chats, and on-air birthdays and anniversary shoutouts.
Second, Silver, Nationwide VIP. Breaking news alerts, exclusive documentaries, quizzes, personal milestones celebrated on air, and weekly family roll call mentions. Oh, and for our biggest supporters,
our gold category, elite listener, full archive access, early releases, private studio tours, live show experiences, personalized birthday videos, and exclusive live streams. From historic election coverage to lifetime, impact, Jamaican milestones, and rare archive content. This is Nationwide like you've never seen it before. The Nationwide Family Club, coming to you February 9, 2026 on Patreon.
Join the family, support Nationwide 90 FM, the station that informs, entertains, and educates. Visit patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. That's patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. Nationwide Family Club, where you are family, because we see you as family.
Attention contractors, developers, and homeowners. Glacier White Corian Solid Surface is now at a special price. While stocks last, choose Corian for your commercial and residential projects. You won't regret it. It's durable, beautiful, and long-lasting. No sealing necessary. Corian is the #1 solid surface in the world. Second to none. Visit Home International Limited at 104 Constant Spring Road. Telephone 876-755-1970 or 876-276-6448. Open Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Commercial spaces for you. Parks and attractions for you. Housing and residential developments for you. Beautiful rental properties for you. Improving quality of life through infrastructure development across Jamaica for you. The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen for you. Brought to you by the Urban Development Corporation.
Need to make a change to your title or need a title? GeoLand Title Limited is the place to be. They do lost title application, add and remove names from titles, wills, estates, first-time registration, land surveys included, affordable rates and flexible payment options, National Land Agency adjudication and land titling waivers available. They have 8 locations island-wide. Call 876-754-6436 or visit their website at geolandonline.com. GeoLand Title Limited. Secure your land, secure your title.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We bowl things off with some cricket as West Indies women will avoid a seaweed sweep when they defeated Sri Lanka by 6 wickets in the third and final one-day international in Grenada on Wednesday. Chasing 218 to win, the Indies reached the target in 46 overs. Captain Hayley Matthews scored an even century while Stefanie Taylor made 38 and Chanel Henry 32. Earlier, Sri Lanka made 217 for 7 off their 50 overs. Arshitha Samawikrama made 70, which included 7 fours. She got support from Kavisha Dalhari, 45 not out. Matthews and Kishrama Ramarak took 2 wickets each. Now, West Indies and South Africa will both put their flawless records on the line when they meet in the Super 8 round of the ICC Cricket World Cup in Ahmedabad on Thursday. Both sides have enjoyed perfect campaigns so far, registering 5 wins from 5 starts to set up one of the most anticipated clash of the tournament. The Caribbean side's charge has been powered by explosive batting led by Shimron Hetmyer. Hetmyer currently tops the tournament standings for most sixes with 17, underlining his destructive form. His teammate Shafram Rutherford has so far clearing the ropes with ease and is in a 3-way tie for third place with 11 sixes. Meanwhile, South Africa boasts their own heavy hitters. Ryan Rickleton has struck 9 sixes so far, while the experienced David Miller and dynamic Dewald Brevis have each belted 8, providing the Proteas with formidable firepower. With both teams stocked with aggressive batters, West Indies assistant coach Vlad Reefer is expecting fireworks at the Narendra Modi Stadium.
Both teams hit sixes, but yeah, the pitch, once the wicket is good, then you expect a good batting performance on both of the teams. I think the main thing for us is, trying to score as many balls as possible. Yes, we know we hit sixes, we hit fours, but for us it's to score as many deliveries as possible.
Modi Reefer says both sides are familiar with each other's style of play.
We just played a series against them in South Africa, played 3 games there, and guys like Rutherford, Chase and Skipper Shear played in the SCA T20 as well. So when you play against teams in international cricket, guys know each other. They play against each other even in franchise cricket. So it's just a matter of on the day, who plans the best on the day, who executes the best on the day.
Reefer emphasized that his side has nothing to prove despite their unbeaten run.
There's no point to prove for us. We came here like any other team to win the competition. A lot of people have us flying under the radar, but we plan every game to go in there with a positive mentality to win cricket games.
Floyd Reefer. Now to track and field, as Edwin Allen High and St. Jago High successfully defended their respective titles at the 2-day Central Athletics Championships concluded on Friday at GC Foster College. On the girls' side, Edwin Allen High stamped their authority on the meet, scoring a commanding 406 points across 45 finals. Homewood Technical followed closely in second with 370.5 points, while St. Jago secured third with 240.5 points. The boys' competition saw St. Jago High deliver a solid all-round performance to top the standings with 250 points from 40 finals. Edwin Allen High claimed second with 208 points, while Clarendon College rounded out the podium in third with 132 points. Now, following their title-winning performance at the recently concluded Corporate Area Championships, Immaculate Conception will now shift their attention to the upcoming Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Championships set to be hosted at the National Stadium from March 24 to 28. Franz Ford, head coach of the team, explained that his girls will be heading into the All-Ireland High School Championships with their confidence level at an all-time high.
Boys and Girls Championship is different. You have to show up on the day of championship. You have to show up, you have to ensure that everything goes according to plan. It's for all class 4s, all class 3s, all class 2s, all class 1s. So go out there on the day to show up and to demonstrate exactly who they are, and the talent in which God has given them. For them to go out there and to apply it. Right. We sit down with the girls, all coaches, we sit down with the girls and we go through everything with them from day one. So they knew exactly what it's going to take in order to achieve our goal.
Ford added that for the upcoming championships, the team will use 3 key tactics to ruffle some feathers and to be amongst the top performing schools.
Our aim is watch, observe, apply, and that's what we're going into 2026 Boys and Girls Championship. We are just going to be focusing and not just observing exactly what is happening, what is taking place, and we're just going to apply everything as best as we can. We ensure that they do understand. Yes, celebrate the victory, celebrate corporate area championship. However, Boys and Girls Championship is also a different feat.
Franz Ford, he was speaking on the Mr. Analyst podcast. No Mount Pleasant Academy beat Harborview 4-1 in the Rare Never Jamaica Premier League at Drexel on Wednesday. With the 3 points, Mount Pleasant moved to second in the standings, 3 points behind the leaders Montego Bay United. Meanwhile, Treasure Beast and defending champions Cavalier played out a 1-1 draw at St. Elizabeth Technical High School. And finally, in swimming, the Jamaican national record holders two Jamaican national record holders will be in action for their respective schools when the Big Ten Conference Championships dive in at the Aquatic Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Nathaniel Thomas of Purdue University and Colin McKenzie of Indiana University will both be aiming to strengthen their credential ahead of the NCAA Championships, which stands out performances at the conference showdown. More in this report. Nathaniel Thomas, Jamaica's national record holder in the 50-meter freestyle 25-meter pool, with a mark of 22.06 seconds, enters the meet in strong form. The sprint specialist recently clocked a personal best 19.38 seconds in the 50-yard freestyle, while leading off Purdue's 200 yards freestyle relay A team. That effort dipped under the NCAA Division I qualifying standard of 19.43 seconds. However, to secure consideration for the season-ending NCAA championships, Thomas will need to produce that level of performance in Madison. The Boilermakers swimmer is also chasing the fastest time ever recorded by a Jamaican in the 50-yard freestyle, 19.30 seconds, set by fellow sprint freestylist record holder Justin Plaschka at the 2018 ACC Championships while competing for University of Notre Dame. Lowering that mark would further cement Thomas's status among Jamaica's elite sprint freestylers. Meanwhile, Colin McKenzie arrived at the championships as Jamaica's premier backstroke talent. He holds the national record in the 100 meters breaststroke, 1 minute 01.53, and a 200 meters breaststroke, 2 minutes 16.67 seconds. His 100 meters mark was established during a historic performance at the Junior Pan American Games, where he became the first Jamaican man, either junior or senior level, to medal in the event, capturing bronze. In the yards format, McKenzie is equally distinguished. He is currently tied with Keto Campbell of the University of Denver as the fastest Jamaican ever in the 100 yards breaststroke at 52.91 seconds. He also stands alone as Jamaica's best performer in the 200 yards breaststroke, having posted 1 minute 54.40 at last year's conference championships. Well, that's all the time we have for sports. I'm Alex Wiebe.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
We love showing you the fun side of Jamaica. New places, good food, real vibes, and pure adventure. If you enjoy exploring with us, come closer. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
You have stood with us through every headline and every difficult moment. The Family Club is how we keep this going strong. Together, join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club now on Patreon.
Wake up, Jamaica.
It's another glorious day on Nationwide this morning. From your 6 a.m. alarm to the news at 6. Coming up in the news at 6 to me telling you what's on my mind.
To more news at 7 a.m. Coming up in the news at 7. And then the biggest issues dissected, interrogated and discussed on the front page. Nationwide this morning fires you up and sets you right for the remainder of the day.
And there's much more until 9 a.m. Want to know which roads to avoid on your morning commute?
Time now for Street Smarts 2 with Ludwig McLean.
Listen to Street Smart.
Want to hear more about things happening at the community level outside the bustling corporate area? Listen to Across Jamaica.
George, it's someone's birthday.
Happy birthday, yeah, my friend.
And that someone will hear a special greeting every morning via the Birthday Club.
Nationwide this morning on the revolution in media.
It's coffee, tea, and everything else.
For those who want an energetic, rip-roaring start to their day.
He never shies away from taboo topics. Voyagings After Dark.
The most riveting discussions.
Voyagings After Dark.
Topics that are shunned by society.
And everything else in between. Voyagings After Dark with Kareem Voyagings this and every Wednesday from 8 to 11 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
You can't miss.
What's buzzing?
Celebrity outfits.
Is that a hit or a miss?
Bust the odds.
Jamaica's Got Talent.
Wait, war man.
Hot takes.
Talk up the takes.
Actual factual.
Life is short.
Voyagings After Dark.
Come get your mind blown.
And your curiosity explored.
Tune in to Cliff Views Online with George Davis on Monday, March 2 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. live from Homewood Technical High School as they celebrate 90 years of empowering generations and officially open a new classroom block. We'll be on the ground to describe all the excitement that is to come at Homewood Technical. Look forward to performances by the school's musical band, lighting of 90th anniversary lamp, and more. It's all going down at Homewood Technical High School. Tune in to Cliff Views Online with George Davis on Monday, March 2 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. live from Homewood Technical High School for the 90 Years of Empowering Generations celebration. Catch this and so much more on our YouTube channel at Nationwide 90 FM Live 2, or keep your radio locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the National Education Trust.
Good evening, listeners, viewers. Welcome back. It's time for the nation's business. Thank you for joining me. And earlier today, the National Water Commission has suggested it has taken a $3 billion revenue hit due to the impact of Hurricane Melissa. NWC Vice President Herman Fagan provided the update to lawmakers during a meeting of Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, that's PAAC. Like other utilities, the NWC suffered significant damage from the passage of the Category 5 system, particularly in Western Jamaica. Mr. Fagan says the capital costs associated with the hurricane continue to grow, with current totals standing at $3.7 billion. This brings the NWC's total exposure from the hurricane to nearly $7 billion.
Inevitably, this would have come at a significant cost. From a revenue standpoint, to date, we have incurred a drop in our revenue in just about $3 billion.
This is since From October 28th to the present.
That's correct.
So it would be about $1 billion a month.
Yes, on average. So what we found is that even though, as I said, it's an average, the month after will be more significant. But as some of the systems come back online, there have been improvement. The hotel sector would have been significantly impacted, and they are one of our primary customers. So that in itself would have a significant impact. In addition to the works that we have to be doing, the security is an issue. The cost per generator and fuel maintenance, and there's a security component to that. That is very significant, and a number of buildings that we have to continue rehabilitation. The fencing of most of the properties, that is something that we're also looking at, which will come at a significant cost. But we are basically prioritizing getting up the systems up and running before we basically undertake most of those works.
But in addition to the revenue loss, do you have any estimate of the capital damage that was done and the cost to rehabilitate that?
Yes, Chair. The preliminary estimate that was done is just about $3.7 billion. And it is growing, because just recently we had a system put back in operation, 100,000 gallon tank. Water was replenished in the tank just to find out that the tank is leaking, it suffered damage. And 100,000 gallon tank, I think it cost somewhere about $80 million. So even though we had a preliminary estimate, it's still
as we go along, we have to be. So you're talking somewhere in the region of $7 billion total impact.
I think, Chair, that would be a very good ballpark figure that we're looking at. We outlined some realities quickly. So the impact from revenue shortfalls inevitably will impact our operations. There are a number of things that a number of plans that we basically had in place that we have to really look at. The water trucking logistics is still proving challenging. There's some of the terrains that's still limited access in some instances. And we have to highlight the issue of generators, because Chair and members, for most part, we hear this claim that we need to put generators everywhere. But there are challenges. There are limitations in that regard. So the cost for putting in generators in place, most of them. So we have generators that we own. But based on the need, we have to do a lot of contracting, and it's extremely expensive, to say the least. The last collation of our figures, I think we would have expended over $500 million just for the operational cost for generators alone. The reduced system reach, meaning that we would have gotten back some of our systems on stream. Though we have generators there, it has some limitation in that regard. So that is something that we also have to grapple with. So Chair, in a nutshell, that is basically what it is. I think we would have made significant progress in light of the magnitude of damage that we basically suffered. We still have some way to go, but we are with the support, and I must take the opportunity to really to big up Team NWC based on the sterling work that they have undertaken thus far.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It's 6:31.
We're going to reconstruct areas that were damaged, but we're going to do it with a forward thinking. We're going to seek to include new businesses and new infrastructure. including new towns, new roads, new schools, new hospitals. We have to build them with the next hurricane, the next shock in mind. We have to build them with resilience.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Commercial spaces for you. Parks and attractions for you. Housing and residential developments for you. Beautiful rental properties for you. Improving quality of life through infrastructure development across Jamaica for you. The Urban Development Corporation, making development happen for you. Brought to you by the Urban Development Corporation.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome back. We're giving you excerpts from today's sitting of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, where the National Water Commission outlined its response and concerns in relation to Hurricane Melissa. We had there, that was Herman Fagan. He's a vice president of the NWC, who explained that the commission has faced a revenue loss of $3 billion. That's money that the commission would have earned had things been business as usual. But as you know, it is not business as usual, particularly in Western Jamaica, even now, months after Hurricane Melissa. He also pointed out that the company has racked up $3.7 billion so far. He made it quite clear that that is expected to go even higher in terms of capital costs associated with the hurricane, that's damage to actual infrastructure, buildings, equipment, etc. Well, Mr. Fagan went on to warn that there are some long-term projects that were in the pipeline for the upcoming fiscal year that might be threatened as a result. He was responding to questions from PAAC Chairman Peter Bunting.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. But before I open to questions from members, I would really love you to expand a little more on the financial impact on the NWC. We're in the process of looking at the estimates of expenditure for both central government and the public bodies, and to inform members, all members, not just members of the committee, but I think it would be useful if you could give us some sense what, if any, of those losses or additional expenses would be covered by insurance? What, if any, has been covered by allocations from central government, either directly or through the OUR to support the NWC? And looking forward into the coming fiscal year, I imagine there's going to be a long tail effect in some of these in terms of your revenue, because we've heard major hotel chains, for example, say they may not reopen until later in the year. So those good customers, water, sewage customers, they will be out for an extended period of time. So I'm sure your team must have done some projections to give a little more information on the financial impact, because the part of the mandate of this committee is really looking at the numbers and understanding not just the performance, which I think you've given us a very good overview of, but understanding the impact on numbers and how this will affect the entity going forward. And if you want to ask one of your other members to assist, that's fine as well.
All right, so Chair, so let me start with the first question that you asked. The assessment from an insurance perspective that was undertaken, the insurers would have sent in their team and would have gone through at most of the critical sites locations where we suffer damage. And I was advised by my CFO that we would have gotten some drawdown from an insurance perspective. You
have any sense of what that might be? Just ballpark. I'm not asking a precise number. Is it
I think
10 million, 100 million, a billion?
Somewhere in the region of 2.5 million US.
2.5 million US?
Yes. Yeah. From central government, I know that we would have gotten some support, Chair, but I don't have the exact figure from us, but I could provide that information. But I'm pretty sure that we would have gotten support from central government. I'm pretty sure of that, but I could get the actual figure and give to you. Chair, one of the things that would have done also, would have done a submission to our ministry, and which would have been communicated to Ministry of Finance, the kind of support that we basically need in light of the fact that we are going to have this revenue shortfall going forward, which is going to have an impact on our day-to-day operations. We are basically starting the new financial year next month. We have had a number of projects planned, in-house small projects planned, which comes at a cost. It will have an impact. We also have, from a capital expenditure standpoint, so that submission would have been made as to the extent to which we will definitely need some support.
So that's assistance in the 26-27 financial year.
Yes,
you would have made that submission.
Yes,
so
that submission was made.
We will go back to our, when we get to Standing Finance Committee, we will have a closer examination of that.
So that's Herman Fagan, Vice President over there at the NWC, explaining that the situation quite grim considering the revenue losses, capital exposure, as well as concerns about its ability to fulfill those projects that it had in the pipeline for the upcoming fiscal year, leaning on the central government, therefore, additional support, because as you should recall, listeners, while the NWC is a self-financing body, it is not in a situation where it is a profit-making venture at this juncture. It is still it's trying to reduce its losses, but it's still a loss-making entity, and it's now going to need further support from the government in terms of getting things back on track as it tries to deal with those losses associated with Hurricane Melissa. Well, some good news from the NWC Vice President is that they have now completed about 90% of the restoration works to bring water back to Jamaicans out there in Western Jamaica.
Since the hurricane has increased, maybe in some instances, some parishes, to 30 to up to 45%. So as a part of the full restoration, we want to move from the trucking to normal supply. There will be need for well rehabilitation in some instances based on the kind of damage that was suffered, and we have ongoing system optimization. This Chair and members give an idea as to exactly what obtains now. So we have 612 main sites, and to date, 96% of those sites actually has JPS power. 587, so 25 sites don't have power. JPS would have committed to us that 13 from those 25 sites will have power restored by the end of this month. From the remaining 12, 6 already have generators in place, and we have moved now to have generators installed on the 6 other locations. I think 2 in particular is a little bit problematic, Malvern 1 and Malvern number 2, based on the terrain. But my technical team is actually looking at ways and means how we basically can maneuver that, the issues there. So
these generators are continuous duty generators, not standby?
Yeah, continuous. We have a number of sites. So we have 20 systems that JPS would have restored power Chair. However, there is need for remedial work to be done. St. James South is one of those areas, and remember, I'm happy to advise that a number of those facilities should be back certainly by the end of this month, the 15th of March. That is a deadline we have set ourselves. The table gives an indication as to where we are at. To date, 95% of our customers have service restored. I must hasten to add that, as I indicated earlier, the bigger treatment plants and the larger treatment plants constitute the significant percentage, the highest significant percentage of all our customer base, despite the fact that we still have a number of systems which are out of operation, mostly located in rural districts.
That is Herman Fagan. He also went on to expound on some of the sites that were damaged during the passage of the hurricane.
We have a system called Darnock. It's actually located in Trelawney, and the entire access to that facility, which is a bridge, is actually washed away. So today, that system is still out of operation. If we jump down to my far left, it gives a depiction of what obtains of the Great River intake after the hurricane itself. What we are looking at there is a 200,000 gallon tank in Gordon, Westmoreland, that was destroyed. And to the right of that tank is one of the significant damages that we
Just a question, that's a metal tank?
Yes, Chair, it's a metal tank.
And it would have been filled with water at the time?
Yes, Chair. So, because what we did as a part of the standard operating procedures, all tanks are filled before the hurricane. So the next picture on screen shows you the breakaway of the Great River raw water pipe, and that is a 32-inch pipeline. 32-inch pipeline that goes across a bridge and goes into the treatment plant that was actually washed away. And then we have a 24-inch pipeline that transmission main from New Martha Brae in the vicinity of Lilliput that was also significantly damaged. In terms of our internal operations, a number of our offices were flooded. Roof damage, communication disruption was a major feature. That was one of the significant challenges that we had. We had teams going on the road, and what we basically had to do in the morning is also have a conversation, a discussion as to the method, the modus operandi for the day, because communication was basically, in some instances, non-existent. Our most important resources, which is our staff, a number had significant displacements. A number of the operational teams were unable to come to the office, so we basically could have that discussion. So that was a significant challenge that we had. And accessibility, inevitably, to a number of our facilities and to our network, that was also a significant challenge. The emergency response measures, how did we respond after the storm itself? So what we basically did with the human resources that we had at our disposal, that is those staff members and operational team, we had rapid team deployment in areas that we could visit. So the eastern part of the island was not significantly impacted. So even though the major treatment plants were closed down, Mona, Spanish Town, Constant Spring, thereafter, within a short space of time, we were able to get back those facilities up and running. And Mona, Spanish Town, Constant Spring would constitute, Bourg, St. Anne, would constitute a significant percentage of our customers. The strategies that we utilized were, we identified the priority areas. The hospitals were of paramount importance, the economic or town centers, and the highly dense populated area or communities. Schools were also taken into consideration. In the aftermath, there are some temporary measures that we had to put in place. For example, the installation of makeshift loading bays. So we had some facilities, for example, in Montego Bay, we had the loading bay, the major loading bay, or the premier loading bay in the parish. We basically got that back one up. People don't have water. So invariably, they'll be basically coming to the facility and they want water. So what we basically did, we set up some standpipes outside the facility, which gave the citizens access to the service. And that strategy we found worked pretty well, and it was replicated across the enterprise. Catherine, all chair and members, we know that they were significantly impacted based on the flooding that took place. The network itself was totally gone. So what we did, we installed some wayside tanks, ensure that they were sterilized, ensure that they were basically installed in areas where there's easy access to the community members, and that strategy was replicated to a number of different communities. The management staff was redeployed, so we had absolutely no management staff in office. And that is consistent with the operations of our business continuity plan. So in essence, our business continuity plan is just a roadmap. How do we operate in case of an emergency? So the senior management staff were redeployed to different areas. For example, the Reading loading bay, we ensured that there are senior people there on the ground, while others were basically combing the network with the local staff to do an assessment. The areas that we got back on the network, we did valve regulation just to ensure that the water supply, the limited supply that we had, would have reached a wide cross-section of our customers as possible.
That's Herman Fagan, their Vice President of the National Water Commission, facing questions from the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee regarding the response and the fallout from Hurricane Melissa. We leave it there, listeners, and come back just in a bit with Around the World.
The 2026 Reggae Gold Award Ceremony, National Arena, Friday, February 27th, 7:30 p.m. Join the stars of reggae music on the red carpet as a grateful nation honors its musical ambassadors, plus the reggae messenger Luciano, live with the Reggae Gold Orchestra. That's the 2026 Reggae Gold Award Ceremony, National Arena, Friday, February 27th, 7:30 p.m.
Admission free!
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
So some of you have been listening longer than I've been talking on radio, so this is our way of keeping it strong together. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon and stay with us. The news cycle doesn't end on Friday. It needs perspective. That's why every Sunday at midday, Nationwide 90 FM presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week, what really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Yes, it's time for Around the World, and today we're going to Mexico, where their president has praised the special forces for bringing down the country's most wanted man. The drug lord known as El Mencho died in custody on Sunday shortly after being captured amid a bloody fight in Jalisco. But in another Mexican cartel hotspot, the vacuum left by the removal of a powerful cartel leader can trigger a surge in violence as warring factions battle for control. We have more in this report from the BBC.
The threat of violence continues to loom across Mexico after a cartel rampage which took place on Sunday. The killing of the leader of Mexico's Jalisco New Generation cartel, known as El Mencho, led to a wave of violence across the country, plunging some parts into chaos. Our Mexico correspondent Will Grant sent this.
After moving to Mexico from Swindon 9 years ago, Alan Percy and his family opened a dog sanctuary in Puerto Vallarta. Today they care for 300 abandoned dogs in the largest animal refuge in Jalisco state. It's all-consuming work, but on Sunday their task became even harder. Alan was held up at gunpoint by cartel members who stole his truck.
We were confronted by a convoy of must have been 10 vehicles loaded with cartel members, heavily armoured with automatics. There were guns mounted on the roofs of the trucks, and they would block the road and they stopped us. I know enough Spanish that when they were saying solo coche, that they just wanted the car.
The cartel's show of force shook Puerto Vallarta, including an attack on the city's Costco store.
It was meant to be a normal Sunday when the customers at this wholesale store found themselves in the middle of an outpouring of cartel violence. But beyond the loss of their vehicles, many wonder now if there's more cartel violence to come and what that will mean for their otherwise peaceful beach community. ¿Cómo está?
The mayor, Luis Mujia, insists Puerto Vallarta is getting back on its feet. But he admits the authorities would struggle to cope if the Jalisco cartel descends into an all-out internal war. We have to make sure we don't make problems worse in a complex, intense moment. We must look out for our people, for the tourists who visit. That's what we need to do as a local government, he told me.
Why would a car be set on fire right there?
Tourists and foreigners are vital to Puerto Vallarta's economy. One resident, Lizzie Kutinek from Stockport, filmed the violence up close. But after days of sheltering in place, she still says the cartel's show of power won't force her family to leave.
Has it changed my mind about Vallarta? No. And of course, now that we see only a few days, 24 hours even later, people are trying to get back to normal, which is what we do here. We have hurricanes, we have earthquakes, and we band together and get back to normal as soon as possible. I don't think people are intimidated here, put it that way.
Others, though, are leaving. Few showed any desperation or urgency, though some were relieved to head home after days of delays. The leaders, residents and visitors of this otherwise peaceful town now just hope the relative calm isn't shattered again by armed men trying to sow fear. Will Grant, BBC News, Puerto Vallarta.
So tensions still high over there in Mexico after the death of that cartel leader, El Mencho. We hope things settle down. It's quite interesting situation. I know it reminds me back in 2010, that whole matter regarding the extradition of Christopher Dodos Koch. It's a similar situation there in Mexico where this powerful drug cartel leader has been killed by the security forces, and the resulting violence from those cartel members is quite devastating. So we hope and wish all the best for those over there in Mexico to get things back on track. But listeners, we also have another matter now there in the United States, where the first State of the Union address by U.S. President Donald Trump for his second term in office took place yesterday. That's Tuesday night on the U.S. Capitol. The president broke the record for the longest one ever, about an hour and 47 minutes, I believe. And a shouting match over immigration took place between Democrat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and the president. More in this report from Sky News.
The second Trump presidency. It's been a wild ride. This was the car journey for the big set piece to Congress for the States of the Union address.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
This is an occasion for a president to present his own report card to Republican acclaim, even if Democrat opponents marked him down by staying away. It showed in the empty seats. This was political theatre, fascinating in choreography and casting. Cue the Supreme Court justices who torpedoed Trump's policy on tariffs last week. There were handshakes for the judges he'd called disloyal and unpatriotic. Inside the chamber, the air chilled.
And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling.
Disruption came early. Democrat Al Green was escorted out, carrying a banner that read, "Black people aren't apes." He missed the president on vintage form, campaigning vintage in this, a midterm election year.
0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. Drill, baby, drill. No tax on tips. We ended DEI. The state of our union is strong.
The US men's ice hockey team were a universal hit. Guests of the president. Populism with the politics. This is a president seemingly on the brink of attacking Iran.
They're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America.
In a room listening for clues, there was a holding position.
They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon.
There was a standing ovation a minute in half the room. Democrats took it sitting down. In a picture of dissent, the president saw opportunity.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
He brought the Democrat benches to life with shouts of,
penalties for public officials.
"You have killed Americans."
The removal of criminal aliens.
We saw the videos too. "You are killing Americans." This was a State of the Union, the state of which we haven't seen before, in protest. This was close to Capitol Hill. Across town, they were closer to Hollywood. They dressed as frogs at an event called State of the Swamp. They heard from actor Robert De Niro.
I choke on that phrase, "we all love our country," because our country isn't so lovable right now.
Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein were present in the chamber. This was a news conference they held down the corridor in advance.
I do not stand alone. I represent hundreds of faceless, nameless survivors.
She may have left this earth, but her soul is still here.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
This was an address to put wind in the sails of his Republican Party, heading towards the midterms. But the president did it with a poor rating in the polls. A State of the Union address is an occasion for a president to tell Americans where he's brought them and where he's taking them. Typically, it is a straightforward, staid affair. But these aren't typical times.
I think you should take the rest of the day off.
I think we have to. We're going to have to.
And this is no typical president. James Matthews, Sky News, in Washington.
Donald Trump, they're always the showman. You love him or hate him, you have to say he does have a way with his speeches and his addresses, but that's where we have to leave it tonight. Listeners, please stay tuned for the comment section, which is coming up next, but that's where I will leave you this evening. Thanks to our super producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew the Glenn, that's the Bugs Anderson, who held down the fort. Thanks to our super editor, that's Cara Powell, along with the very capable Ricardo Brooks. He's still here with us, listeners. He's here with us for a few more days, and you will see him for his last presentation for Nationwide. That would be this Friday. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say.